December 31, 1884. The Carroll Herald, Carroll City, Iowa. Can this be true? A captain's story of a horrible monster seen in Lake Michigan. Last season, marine circles were all torn up over the discovery of an alleged sea monster a few miles off this port and, subsequently, when it was seen again off Death's Door by some fishermen. The original discovery was made by Captain Dick Brewer while he was towing a big mud scow past the marine hospital. Looking ahead out of the pilot house of his boat, he saw a large black object about a quarter of a block distant, which he at first took to be a log. There was something in the appearance of the object, however, which impelled him to a closer inspection and, picking up his marine glasses, he leveled them in the direction of the supposed log. To his astonishment, it began to move rapidly toward the tug, and when within 100 feet it stopped, raised its head and dived beneath the surface of the water. A lookout was kept on all sides of the boat, but the strange monster did not reappear. Captain Brewer described the animal or fish or whatever it was as being about 8 feet in length, covered with long black hair, and possessed of an immense head, which was a cross between the heads of a horse and a cow. A great, gaping mouth, fringed with 2 sets of long, threatening teeth, and 2 large eyes set close to the center of the animal's forehead, gave it a ferocious appearance. Subsequently, an animal of pretty near the same description swam alongside the boat of 2 fishermen on Death's Door and frightened the pair so badly that they were taken sick and nearly died. Others claimed to have seen this inland sea monster, but their statements were not credited, and whenever the story was repeated, the narrator was scoffed into silence. The story was very forcibly revived yesterday by the experience of the crews of the tugs Miller and Tom Brown, and, coming as it did from 2 direct sources, it can no longer be doubted that a marine monster, rivaling even the most hideous of Jules Verne's deep-sea animals in point of size and ugliness, lives and breathes in the waters of Lake Michigan. Yesterday afternoon, when about a mile east of the crib, the steward of the tug Miller was engaged in filling his water barrel. He was startled of a sudden by a huge black object rising to the surface of the water right under the tug's port bow. At first, a black, hairy body, about 8 or 9 feet in length, was visible, and then an immense head with distended jaws, which snapped viciously at the tug's whale, was thrust out of the water. The cook recoiled and called to Captain Neiman and the engineer to look at the monster. They all ran to the bow of the boat and corroborate the story of the cook, whose description of the monster tallies closely with that of Captain Brewer's. Captain Wyman ran for the boat's pipe pole, but before he could use it, the strange object had disappeared. A few minutes later, it was seen leisurely rolling about in the water, a few 100 feet from the boat, on the starboard side. As the Miller had the Mediator in tow, Captain Wyman could not give chase to the fish or animal or whatever it is, but he watched it until it dived beneath the surface of the water and disappeared. An hour or so afterward, the tug Success was passing Lincoln Park, about 2 miles in the lake, with 2 vessels in tow. The deckhand, Edward Burke, was leaning over the rail contemplating the water when he was startled by a huge animal rising out of the water with a roaring sound. It roared as loud as a circus lion and darted toward the tug with a ferocity and force which threatened to sink it. Captain Everett's attention was called to the monster by the noise it made, and he saw it also before it disappeared into the depths of the lake. Marine men regard this story with undisguised incredulity, notwithstanding that the crews of both tugs stoutly maintain that it is true in every particular. The thing to do now is to capture the monster and bring it ashore, so as to give scientists a chance at it. Everybody who has seen the thing says it bellows like a bull and can be heard half a mile away. Chicago Inter-Ocean. October 10, 1894. Chautauqua farmer, Dunkirk, Chautauqua County, New York. Sea serpent. The Lake Erie monster again seen, as usual, off Silver Creek. This time, a Baptist minister, Reverend Alex Watt, sees it, so it must be genuine. 18 feet of it was visible above the water, had enormous fins. Silver Creek, October 8. Silver Creek comes galloping to the front with a sea serpent story. It is not a sea serpent story in the ordinary acceptation of the term. That is to say, the serpent was seen, but the man who saw the sea serpent is not of the kind who usually sees sea serpents. See? It was 2 years and more ago that Captain P. Woods, now dead and gone, rest his soul, saw a sea serpent in Lake Erie near this point. Yesterday afternoon, the same serpent, or one nearly like it, comparing descriptions as related by P. Woods and the awestruck spectators of the present, was seen by 3 persons whose word cannot be doubted. The Reverend Alex Watt, pastor of the Baptist church of this place, his wife, and Miss Nellie Chadsey went down to the beach for an afternoon's outing. Between 5 and 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon, while gazing out on the lake, they heard a great commotion in the water, a few rods off the point where stands the old lighthouse, and about a half-mile from the place where they were standing. The water was churned into foam by the movements of some monster. In a few minutes, the sea serpent, for that is what it was, came into view. It was going down the lake at a rate of speed that would have made the big Northwest hustle to keep up with it. The 3 interested spectators watched the serpent until it became a mere speck in the middle distance. The Reverend Dr. Watt says that what he could see of the creature varied in length from 5 or 6 to 12 and 18 feet as it rose and fell in the water, though how much of its length was invisible is only a matter of conjecture. There appeared to be on its back, from 1 to 2 feet apart, something in the nature of fins, of which sometimes only 3 or 4 were visible, while at times 8 or 10 could be seen. The head was heavier and darker in appearance than the rest of the body. As to the specific appearance of the serpent, it was impossible to say, either in regard to the head or whether the body was serpentine in shape or heavier. From its distance and the commotion in the water caused by its movements, it was hard to distinguish positively as to its shape and size. But, of the characteristics mentioned, the Reverend Mr. Watt took particular notice and is very positive in his assertions. Mr. Watt says his only regret is that he was not nearer to the serpent, or that he did not have a marine glass. From the serpent's size and appearance, coupled with the rapidity of its movements, he says he should not wish to encounter it while in a small boat, if it had any disposition to show fight. A couple of years ago, a fisherman of this place named Wilson claimed to have seen a sea serpent, and about the same time similar reports were made from Van Buren and by Captain P. Woods, before mentioned. Much curiosity has been aroused here, and for a while now the surface of Old Lake Erie will be scanned with more than ordinary vigilance.